have, right? We've seen an escalation in the last 24 hours. One of the female protesters appears maybe she's going to lose an eye because of a rubber bullet that went in. And the shutdown of the airport in Hong Kong is a huge, huge event. That happens in Paris all the time. Parisians are used to this, right? This doesn't happen in Hong Kong. This is a higher level of escalation than we expected. And the Chinese have also started to ratchet up the rhetoric. So the question is, do we see the People's Liberation Army, the Chinese military, go in and crush this thing? The worst case scenario, a la Tiananmen Square, even though all the betting right now is they would be far more restrained than that right now because times are different and they wouldn't necessarily want to take that black eye on their reputation. But still, how much can they tolerate dissent in Hong Kong when they are an authoritarian regime?
As you and I were talking just moments ago, one of the ways things are different now from Tiananmen Square is that everyone has a camera, and that information can get transmitted around the world instantaneously.
If they start mowing people down, we will see it, right? Even if they shut down the internet, there will be cameras that capture it. We didn't have that kind of imagery coming out of Tiananmen Square at the time. Remember the kid standing in front of the tank? That's emblazoned on everybody's memories who was alive at the time. A lot of these kids weren't. But what else do we, we still don't know how many people died in Tiananmen Square, right? It's that much of a mystery. I don't think you could do the same thing in Hong Kong.
Admiral, is that enough to keep the People's Liberation Army at bay? Or is the threat to the authoritarian regime enough for them to step in?
I think there are a couple of red lines that haven't been crossed yet. One would be if you see the tenor and tone of the protest sort of shade away from responding to this extradition law and really move into a sense of, hey, we want greater autonomy, or a kind of a philosophical turn in the protest. I think that would be a red line. I think a second red line would be the protest turning violent against the authorities. So going in and trashing the administrator, Carrie Lam's office, or really physically attacking police. We haven't seen that yet. I think those red lines are out there. And there's another interesting factor that's kind of different than the time of Tiananmen Square, and that's Taiwan and what's happening in Taiwan. Here you have Taiwan, 25th, 26th largest economy in the world. China would love to, over time, assimilate Taiwan. The Taiwanese are watching very closely. To all of the points made earlier, it's going to be there on full display. China's got a very tricky sea passage to navigate through here. If there is a crossing of one of those red lines that you just described, Admiral, apart from the human toll that it might imply, what would it mean for any possibility of a trade deal between the United States and Beijing? It would reduce the ability to execute that trade deal. I think for starters, take it to zero? I don't think it would take to zero, because I think long term, we're going to get a trade deal. I mean, the imperatives for both Xi and Trump to do so are actually quite strong. I think, however, that kind of a Tiananmen Square-like scenario will bring a lot of political baggage with it that will cause a pressure on the administration not to deal with the Chinese after a really brutal crackdown. China knows that. So all of that factors into it. It's not helpful. And here we are in August. People really aren't paying attention yet. I think after Labor Day, if these protests continue, it's got to come to a significant inflection point. So buckle up.
Michelle, I want to ask you about Argentina, but before we get to that, Admiral had mentioned if the protests get a lot more disorderly, even though it seems like things are out of hand, there is actually a tenor of orderliness within it, interestingly.
Yeah, so I covered a lot of protests with tear gas in Athens, and so I'm very interested to see how this is all playing out in Hong Kong. And the riot police there actually have a series of flags. You keep showing this video, and they're showing an orange flag. We can show you there's a black flag. The flag you don't want to see go up is the black flag, and that's where they announce they are going to fire tear gas. So this is actually this is video inside the airport, and there is, you can see the black flag there. That's got written on it in English, tear gas. So that's a warning, and it's a whole series of escalations that they do there. There's a weird sense of...
It's almost like courtesy.
Courtesy, exactly.
To let people know what's coming.
Exactly, yes. And there you can see tear gas, yeah.
Switching gears and touching on Argentina, this is a major market story that we're seeing play out in the emerging markets.
Smokes.
Massive declines in the peso as well as the stock market there. and in that region.
Yeah. If ever you're worried about the world getting quiet, don't worry. Argentina will blow up again, right? Here we go again. So there was a primary election last night, and it looks like the leftist candidate, if you were to run right now, could actually win in a first round in October. So the current president is much more orthodox in his, or at least is said to be much more orthodox in his economics. And so if a leftist gets back into power there, you're seeing just look at it's just plummeting like crazy. They had already had a currency run because the current president, Macri, really hadn't been aggressive enough about tackling the country's deficit. So you've had a run on the currency. The IMF is now deep in this thing. So they've got a big problem. This is a perennial problem, Argentina. It's really heartbreaking to see it happen over and over again.